Before I start, I want to say I've been here since Monday. I have a whole bunch of friends down in San Diego, and my sister actually lives in LA and was part of the Eaton fire and lost everything. So I drove Eaton yesterday. I was in Altadena for about 2 hours, just sort of driving around and bawling my eyes out. And then I drove Palisades today. And I just want to say, if anybody here has family, friends, if you personally have been affected by that fire, I'm thinking about you. I'm praying for you. I'm not going to cry right now because I did a lot of it yesterday. But thank you for the welcome. That was really lovely. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, I'm going to pull myself together and talk about real estate. And I'm going to talk about the white space. And everyone's going to look at me right now and be like, what is the white space? Okay? What the white space is a place that nobody has really done anything yet in. Right? I'm going to give you a really good example of this. Because for me, success in real estate is not about lists. How many people here buy lists? Nobody buys lists? One person. Okay. You can raise your hand. It's okay. I'm not gonna make you feel bad about it. Because lists can work, but the problem is that everybody buys lists. There's no new lists that are coming out, right? It's all the same lists regurgitated kind of over and over and over again. So when we talk about white space, this is Joe Foster. Joe Foster is the guy who started Reebok, him and his brother, okay? In 1958, they started Reebok. And Reebok really didn't become a big brand until the 1980s. And if y'all were around then, right, which I think a few of you were, it's Jane Fonda, right?
No, I just said be nice now.
Okay.
Because we're in the 80s.
Yeah, I was around then too. Yeah. So it really wasn't until the 80s. I'm going to keep my eye on you. Okay, the 80s, right? Everybody, I think, remembers Jane Fonda, right? Was their celebrity branding. You had those white, soft leather shoes, the high tops, the two, right? And those little pinholes in the front. Well, I'll tell you this, they were really crappy shoes. They didn't last very long. That soft leather didn't make it. But they took that company from a $9 million company in 3 years to $900 million. And you know why?
No.
Celebrity branding. Jane Fonda was their spokesperson. She did all their branding. So they latched onto her, built their company, also went into the white space, which was women and aerobics. Nobody had touched that area. That is what the white space is, and that is what I'm going to talk about tonight in real estate. All right? So I want to teach you guys a systematized approach. Because the thing is that we're all taught so many different things, right? I think learning real estate is like drinking from a fire hose, right? It's so much information, you don't really know where to start. It gets super overwhelming, right? I see lots of yeses, right? I was in the same boat as you, okay? But the thing is that if you build something that is systematized, success leaves clues. People don't necessarily, yes, there are people who do things that nobody else has done, but a lot of successful people follow people who are successful, right? And then dig their own niche, all right? So typically what I end up doing here, right? This is for people who want 2 to 4 deals a month, if not more, and you can net about 40 to 50 grand a deal. Now again, that's in the Midwest. I'm in Minneapolis. Your guys' numbers are gonna be a little bit different out here. I have quite a few students in Seattle. That number's bigger just because the brackets are bigger, obviously with the price points. But know that this is something that you can do consistently. And you can build a system. Well, you don't have to build it. I'm going to show you how to build it, and I'm going to do it for you. Because that's what my program does. I give you everything you need. Because I don't want to make it difficult, because you're going to see what it looks like when it's difficult. And there's going to be a lot of F-bombs that are going to be dropped. Not necessarily by me, right? But the people saying these things to me. Okay? And you're going to see that and why I decided to go a different way. So, when we talk about marketing, okay? People spend on average somewhere between usually $2,000 to $5,000 a month on marketing, right? That's pretty typical, okay? Multiple investors are typically bidding on the same properties. You guys ever show up at a place and all of a sudden there's 15 other investors there?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, great, this is pointless for me to be here. And then typically that person who wins the bid is the biggest loser. Because you make your money when you buy, not when you sell, right?
Right.
And so the problem is, we're all going after the same thing, right? Constantly chasing leads, waiting to get through the FUs to get to the yes. I'll show you some of those. And then, like I said, pulling those same lists as everyone else. There's no new lists. I'm going to keep saying that. There's nothing that's new about that. So building relationships with the right people. You heard about that tonight. Sam was talking about that, right? Everybody here, it's so important to build relationships with the right people. But that's a really big statement to say, and just say, oh, build relationships. If you don't know how to build relationships, that means nothing. You have to learn how to add value to people so that they keep coming back to you over and over again instead of you going to them and looking like this, right? What can you do for me? Me, me, me. And that's not what this is about. It's not what real estate is about. Real estate is about helping people. And the problem is, so many people, yes, they're sitting there flashing money and doing all of this, because yeah, it can be really lucrative. But the problem is that the people that want to do business with you, like I said, in this industry sometimes, don't necessarily want to see that, because we are in the helping business. So I want you to become the go-to in your market, right? I'm going to show you some examples. I get to the point now where people call me every single day and I have no idea who they are. And I mean that in a nice way. My attorney told me to call you. This person told me to call you. And the reason is because I produce a result over and over again, and it's consistent. It's the same thing with my students. People know to go to them because they can do these things over and over and over again and be consistent. All right? So now people are going to say, well, gosh, I don't know who this is for. This is maybe not for me. I've never done a deal in my life. Is there anybody in here who has not done a deal? Okay, cool. Yeah, don't be embarrassed about it. That's okay. You're here to learn, right? Anybody 10 deals or less? Okay, 20 deals or more. Great. Okay, so we got a good amount of experience in here. And that's great, because the thing is, this is for everybody. It honestly is. There's one of my students in Chicago, she'd never done a deal in her life. Got her first deal doing this program, and she's like, Jen, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. I don't have any money, I don't have this, I don't have that. I said, you know what, let's wholesale it. You can get some quick cash in your pocket, and we can go from there. And that's the cool part. Now she's really built up that program. She's got people coming to her, and now she can actually flip the properties herself. Likewise, for those of you who've done tons of deals, and maybe you have some really great marketing that already works for you, I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong, but why not add something that's going to cost you nothing to do, right? And then there's a lot of things I'm going to tell you guys about too that you can use these, not use them, but help them, let's say that, right, down the road to build up what you can add to that value for them, all right? So, little bit about me. I've been in real estate for almost 8 years. Not that long, but I built up a pretty awesome presence. And the reason being is because I really like what I do. And I also, like I said, have gotten into that, like I said, the white space, right, where nobody else is. Nobody is teaching this stuff right now. I'll tell you that right now. One of the coolest things I think that was said was that I was one of the most forward-thinking women. And I say this not to say, look at me, because I'm not that type of a person, but the reason is because of Great Deals First and the way that I market, like I said, to these attorneys. Guys, you can sit there and tell me, oh yeah, I've done some deals with attorneys, it's great. Well, yeah, but have you done 10 to 12 deals with the same attorney? Do they keep coming back to you? Do they know that you're going to produce for them over and over? That's kind of what this is about. Some of the fun things I've been able to do. I love talking about this because opportunities flow when you're able to produce. I had the opportunity to meet Kevin Costner. I interviewed Phil Jackson. You guys, I'm from Chicago, okay? That's where I grew up. I'm a huge basketball player, right? So 80s and 90s, Phil Jackson coached the Bulls, okay? So one of the things I asked him, one of my favorite questions I asked him, I said, what was the biggest regret that you have in coaching? And you know what he said? He said, I regret not teaching, or not taking my 10, 11, 12, my deep bench players and treating them the same as I did my starting lineup. And I think when a lot of people come into real estate, it's super overwhelming. There's a lot of people that are in social media. I mean, everybody says that they're amazing on social media, but behind closed doors, who knows, right? But the thing is that people get super intimidated by this stuff. And so what this is meant to do is take you from that deep bench and bring you into the starting lineup because nobody else is doing it, okay? So I want to talk a little bit about where I was before I started, right? Because when I was introduced, you heard that I was a criminologist, and I am. I worked in criminology for 15 years, specialized in human trafficking, sexual violence, real heavy, super heavy, right? When I got out of grad school, I was supposed to have this position. I was going to be teaching at my alma mater. I was going to be an adjunct professor. And I also was going to be running a grant. And you know what happened? 2 weeks before the class was supposed to start, they hired somebody full-time, and the grant got pulled. So I was like, what do? I had no idea what to do. I didn't know where to live. I had to move out of my place because I didn't have a place. I moved in with my friend's parents. And I worked at a jail. Yeah. First day out there, my first day on the floor, I remember this woman had broken a mirror in her room and was just like jabbing her arm. And there's blood flying everywhere, and I was like, oh my God, what did I just get myself into? But I stuck with it for a little while because it was my first job. But I knew that I couldn't really make rent. I was like $1,000 above the poverty line, making 24 grand a year. So I started bartending. Then I started writing grants. Then I worked in human trafficking stuff, which again, nonprofits, 42 grand a year. That's what some people make in about 20 minutes, right? And then I worked as a salesperson, I worked for Sylvan, I was a center director. I mean, I went all over the place because I wasn't really finding what I liked. The longest I stayed somewhere was about 3 years, okay? I was also a barista. I mean, you name it, I've done it. And then there's my husband, Dan. God bless his soul. He works in IT, he still does. Worked for 2 places, right? That's how he is, though. I'm the one who's like, woo, let's move to Mexico. We almost did. And he was like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, let's do it, you know? But anyway, needless to say, we didn't make it because we had kids. Those are my boys. On the left, that's Kellen with the glasses. He's 12. Jonah on the right, he's 10, my basketball player. Shocker, right? And my youngest one, Jonah, was born very early. And so the first year of his life, garbage. In and out of hospitals, trying to figure out what to do with him. There's no way I was going to be able to work. And likewise, me going back to the job that I did, making 42 grand a year, didn't really seem to make sense, right? And so what ended up happening was October of 2017. I'm at home with the kids. Dan calls me from work, and he's like, I just got laid off. So I was like, okay, this is our one job that we have right now. You just got laid off out of nowhere, and I work a $40,000 a year job. What are we gonna do? And so it was sort of in that moment that I said, you know what? This is a sign. I'm going to look at this as a blessing and say, this is the time for us to make a decision, to make a change, to not have anybody else determine what we are worth. We get to make that decision and we get to decide. And so I jumped 2 feet in. It was a silly Facebook post, right, for a free seminar, which I think we all know they're not free.